Hi everyone, my name is Carly Van Waveren and I'm super excited to take you guys through today's mini lesson. It's on a topic that I think is really important and I think it's something that a lot of new UX designers can tend to overlook. And that topic is accessibility. Accessibility relates to how well your app or product caters to all people. And today I'm going to focus more specifically on those who are visually impaired, those who have ADD, ADHD, but I will leave you with some resources and guidelines so that you can reference them in the future if you're designing with other disabilities in mind. But it's important to be inclusive when designing and make sure to follow these guidelines. So here we're going to start by looking at this bad example on the left. First of all, you can see that this button doesn't have much color contrast with the screen behind it, and even the text within the button itself is a very light yellow on this background. It doesn't really stand out that much. In addition, also the welcome back text, the forgot password text is very thin and small. It's difficult to read, especially we have this very busy background going on and we have this added graphic that's really kind of pulling your eyes in all directions, and it's making it hard to tell where we're supposed to input text, where we're supposed to click, things like that. And then finally, there's this new trend in design of using these very minimalistic form fields. And while they can make some apps look more sleek, that is difficult for many visually impaired users to see these fields because they don't stand out with that big white box that people are used to seeing. So with all of these issues in mind, we're now going to look at a few solutions and how we can better design for people with those visual disabilities. Okay, so here we have a redesigned version of the app that's a lot more accessible to visually impaired users. First and foremost, you can see that the button color contrast was increased, and also the text within the button was darkened and made more bold so that it stands out from that background. In addition, the text here, here, and here was made larger and darker and placed on a more minimalistic background that's not really as distracting. Also, you can see here that we're using those white text input fields that stand out more. If you don't want to put a border on your input field, you can use a shadow. And it's also important when designing for users who have ADD, ADHD, to use these form labels, which you can see right here. And these are very useful if a user, say, clicks here and they begin to type and then they forget what is supposed to be in that field. These form labels will help remind them. It also never hurts to include universal symbols. You can see them here and here, and those help people figure out what would be in that field as well. You don't always want to rely on text. You want to make it as clear and concise for the user as possible. And so this is a really good resource, Color Contrast Checker. I really recommend you guys check it out. You can go here and you can input your foreground color and your background color. It will give you a contrast ratio. And then here you can read more about the minimum contrast ratio required to meet disability guidelines. So moving on to our next screen with some key takeaways, you can see here, and oftentimes designers do like to rely on a color change to indicate change to the user. So say that I, click here and I enter it, it might turn green to let me know that, oh, your email has been entered. So a lot of people who are colorblind, they won't notice that change, or they can't really detect that change in color. So it's important that we don't rely on color alone to convey our message. Here we've used the universal symbol for error so that if the person is colorblind, they enter the wrong email, this error symbol will pop up, letting them know what's going on. Just wrapping up, it's important that you check your background contrast, use border form fields when possible, and remember to use labels on your form fields. And so finally, this is the Designing for Disabilities Holy Grail that I promised I'd leave you guys with. This is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It goes through designing for a wide range of different disabilities, and I highly recommend you guys check it out sometime when you get a free moment. So thank you so much for tuning in for today's lesson. Feel free to reach out with any questions.